What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to JohnnyKpicks. And in this video, I'm gonna go over my full card, picks and predictions for UFC Vegas 54, Blachowicz versus Rakic. First things first, please hit that like button, make friends with that subscribe button, and don't forget to turn on those notifications so you don't miss out on any of my new videos or live streams. So, UFC 274 was last night, and yeah. It's getting really difficult for me to watch UFC each and every week when the judges are this inconsistent. And I know I sound like a broken record because every other video I always complain about the judging, but honestly, it's not getting any better. But for my picks, I ended up going 8-6 on the night, and out of those 6 losses, 4 of them were split decisions, and out of those 4 split decisions, I really thought 2 of them should have gone the other way. I felt that Rodriguez did enough in his fight to win 29-28, and also I felt like Chaos Williams did enough to win 29-28 as well. And I'm sure there's people out there that think it was too close and they saw it the other way, but you know what? I'm sticking to this one. Like I said, the judging is so inconsistent, I have no idea how they're judging these fights now. And honestly, you could even say that Rose won her fight, but I will get to that later. And with my bets, I just want to give a shout out to Charlie Olives for saving my night because I ended up going plus 0.93 units profit on the night. So that makes 5 winning fight cards in a row. And I know some of them I haven't won a lot of units on, but hey, profit is profit. I'm gonna have to tighten up my bets a little bit. I'm gonna try to start accounting for the poor judging. And just expect every now and then there's going to be a crazy pre-written scorecard that one of the judges just isn't going to watch the fight and just automatically throws down numbers. Okay, so for my highlights and lowlights of UFC 274, let's start with probably the most boring fight in UFC history, Thug Rose versus Esparza. So I'll admit, I'm a big Rose fan and I was really excited to see this fight because I thought she was going to come out here, put on a striking showcase, but it was the exact opposite from both fighters, really. This is actually a fight that I felt bad for the judges because how do you score that fight the first 3 rounds when they literally threw like 2 or 3 punches each? Now, I honestly thought that Rose did just a tad more than Esparza throughout the whole fight. Maybe she should have won like 48-47, but you know what? Like, she didn't do anything. Esparza didn't do anything. Rose doesn't deserve to keep her belt. And actually, Esparza doesn't deserve to win that belt either. This belt should be vacant because that fight was awful. But moving on to something that was cool was the Chandler-Ferguson fight. And yes, I am sad about Ferguson and how he got knocked out, but that was the deadliest front kick I think I've ever seen in UFC history. And if you would have asked me, how is Chandler going to end this fight? It would not have been a front kick to the face, knocking out Tony Ferguson cold. Like, he was out before he even hit the mat. And I thought this was going to be a good fight going all 3 rounds because Tony looked really good in the beginning, and then Chandler started using his wrestling, so that ended the round, and I thought it was going to be more of the same of that, but Chandler landed that kick, and that was a good win for him. And the man of the hour, Charlie Olives, the champion, this dude is a beast, and he is the best lightweight in the division at this moment. And honestly, it's not even close. And I know he got knocked down early with Gaethje, but if you go back and watch that fight, he actually stunned Gaethje really early on with one of his punches, and he was using those knees to the body really well. And I knew once this fight got to the mat somehow, Charlie Olives was going to be able to wrap up a submission, and it actually ended a lot quicker than I thought. I thought it might have went to the 2nd round, but there's a reason why he's a champion. He has really good grappling, really good technical striking, and he's going to be a force because now you're giving this guy more motivation because you took away his belt for that 0.5 pounds that may or may not have should have been on the scale. But I will say, though, it will be interesting to see who he fights next here for his belt again because if it's McGregor, that would be a great fight. But then again, Oliveira should dominate. Or is it going to be Islam? But I don't know if it's going to be the Dariush Islam fight still or what. But it'll be interesting like I said. But alright guys, so let's get to my picks and predictions for UFC Vegas 54. The first fight we have is Nick Maximov versus Andre Petroski. Maximov is 8-0, 24 years old, 6 foot with a 76-inch reach. And Petroski is 7-1, 30 years old, 6 foot with a 73-inch reach. So this is a very interesting fight to start the night off. And I'm really tempted to pick Petroski here, but I'm gonna go with Maximov to get the job done. So both guys are wrestlers, and their striking is pretty decent. I wouldn't say it's the greatest, but the big red flag for me is Petroski's cardio. After the first round, maybe round and a half mark, he tends to gas so hard. And Maximov has really good cardio, and he does like to push a good pace, so he could potentially get Petroski gassed out by the end of the first round. But I will say though, the first round may be a little dicey because that's when Petroski's dangerous. He has really good submissions when he's on top, and if he's on your back, he has good submissions as well. So it just really depends on, in the first round, if Petroski can get the takedowns first, or if Maximov can get the takedowns first to wear out Petroski. But I'm going to say Maximov plays it safe in the first round. He starts gassing out Petroski in the second, and he might get a late finish in the third, but with my pick, I'm going to say Maximov wins this one by decision. Next fight we have is Carlos Candelario versus Tatsuro Taira. Candelario is 8-1, 30 years old, 5'8", with a 67-inch reach. And Taira is 10-0, 22 years old, 5'7", with a 70-inch reach. So this fight was supposed to happen a couple weeks ago, but I'm going to pick the same guy who I picked last time, and that's Taira to win this one. So both guys are making their UFC debut, and although Candelario is the older and maybe more experienced fighter, but I really like Taira in this matchup. If you watch some of Taira's fights, he's a finisher, and he wants to get his opponents to the mat and either get a submission or ground and pound. Candelario has pretty good striking, but his major red flag for me is that his takedown defense is awful at 47%. So I definitely think Taira will be able to take down Candelario whenever he wants. And I do think once that happens, eventually he's going to be able to get a submission. So with my pick, I'm going to say Taira wins this one by submission. Moving on up the card, we have Verna Jandiroba versus Angela Hill. Jandiroba is 17-3, 33 years old, 5'3", with a 64-inch reach. And Hill is 13-11, 37 years old, 5'3", with a 64.5-inch reach. So with my pick, I'm going to pick Hill to win this one. So Hill is going to be the way better striker, and Jandiroba is going to be the way better grappler. And I also will say that Hill will have a speed advantage, and she does also have good takedown defense at 78%. So for this fight, it really comes down to this. Can Hill stay on her feet for the majority of the fight and outstrike Jandiroba, or can Jandiroba take down Hill and get a submission? And I know Hill's been submitted a few times in her career, but I do think she'll be able to stuff the takedowns early at least, and I do think she'll be able to outstrike Jandiroba on the feet. And I'm going to say it, in Hill's last fight, I did think she should have beat Amanda Lemos. So to me, the judges kind of owe her one here. And I'm just looking outside the box here because you have to play and account these judges now. So with my pick, I'm going to say Hill wins this one by decision. Next fight we have is Michael Johnson versus Alan Patrick. Johnson is 19-17, 35 years old, 5'10", with a 73.5-inch reach. And Patrick is 15-3, 38 years old, 5'11", with a 74-inch reach. Alright, so right off the bat, I'm just going to let you guys know I am staying away from this fight. But gun to my head, I'm going to say Johnson wins. And I'll be honest with you, I barely can trust Johnson because he is so inconsistent as a fighter. One fight, he'll look amazing, and then the next fight, he'll look awful. And then there'll be one fight where one round he'll look amazing, and then the next round he comes out and it's like a completely different fighter. But Johnson does have really good boxing, and he's going to have the advantage on the feet. And with Patrick, he's a grappler, so he wants to get this fight to the mat, but he doesn't have the best takedowns. So I do think Johnson will be able to stuff the majority of those. And I'm going to say it again, I wouldn't be surprised if this fight goes to a split decision. And if that's the case, you're leaving it in the hands of the judges here. But I do think Johnson will be able to outstrike Patrick at least 2 of the 3 rounds. So with my pick, I'm going to say Johnson wins by decision. Next fight we have is Vivian Araujo versus Andrea Lee. Araujo is 10-3, 35 years old, 5'4" with a 68-inch reach. And Lee is 13-5, 33 years old, 5'6" with a 69.5-inch reach. So I think this is going to be another close fight, but with my pick, I'm going to say Lee wins. Both fighters have good striking with good volume, but I will say Araujo is a little bit more hittable than Lee. Araujo does have good takedowns though, but Lee's pretty good on her back if she does get taken down, so she can get a submission from her back. But I wouldn't be surprised if this fight does play out mainly on the feet after Lee stuffs a couple takedowns. And again, I can totally see this fight going a split decision as well, and you're going to leave it in the judge's hands. So I'm not betting this fight, but I am going to say that Lee does land the more strikes throughout the fight. So with my pick, I'm going to say Lee wins this one by decision. Alright, main card now. We have Jake Hadley versus Alan Nascimento. Hadley is 8-0, 25 years old, 5'7" with a 68-inch reach. And Nascimento is 18-6, 30 years old, 5'9" with a 69.5-inch reach. So I'm excited to see Hadley fight again because he's a very well-rounded fighter. And with my pick, I'm going to say that he wins this one. So like I said, he is super well-rounded. He has really good technical striking with really good grappling and submissions. Nascimento is a good striker as well, but honestly, I think Hadley has him beat in every category. And a major red flag for me is Nascimento's takedown defense is 16%. So yeah, he will have zero issues taking down Nascimento. I just think that Hadley pretty much is going to control this fight wherever the fight goes. Whether it's on the mat, I think he's going to be dominant. If it's on the feet, I think his striking is going to be more superior. And I know Hadley is a finisher and he's super dangerous, but I can see this one going to decision. So with my pick, I'm going to say Hadley wins by decision. Moving on up the card, we have Frank Camacho versus Manuel Torres. Camacho is 22-9, 32 years old, 5'10" with a 73-inch reach. And Torres is 12-2, 27 years old, 5'10" with a 73.5-inch reach. So in this fight, I'm going to pick Torres to win. So Torres will be making his UFC debut, and he has really good striking and really good kicks. He does have a decent ground game too if he wants to take the fight to the mat, but he's mainly a striker. And with Camacho, he hasn't fought in almost 2 years, and he's more of a veteran guy that's been around the block for a while. He does have good striking with good power, but I do think his weakness is grappling, so if Torres does want to go for some takedowns, I think he'll have a lot of success. But the way I see this fight playing out is I do think it's going to mainly be on the feet, and I do think it'll be pretty competitive early on, but I do think Torres will either find that one punch that'll knock him out, or it's going to go to the judges' scorecards. So with my pick, I'm going to say that Torres wins this one by decision. Next fight we have is Caitlin Chookagian versus Amanda Ribas. Chookagian is 17-4, 33 years old, 5'9" with a 68-inch reach. And Ribas is 11-2, 28 years old, 5'3" with a 66-inch reach. Alright, so I was a little torn with this one because I really wanted to end up picking Ribas to win, but I thought about it a little bit more, and there's just too many things going against her, so I'm gonna pick Chookagian to win. So Chookagian is gonna be the bigger fighter. She's gonna have a 6-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage. And not to mention, Ribas is moving up a weight class. She usually fights in the strawweight division. But both fighters have really good technical striking, but Chookagian manages her range very well, and it's super hard to hit her. I will give Ribas the grappling and submission edge, and I do think that's going to be the best path to victory for her. But the thing about it is Chookagian's really tough to get down because she's so tall. And with all Chookagian fights, I see this one going to decision, and the judges seem to love Chookagian as well. So with my pick, I'm going to say Chookagian wins this one by decision. Next fight we have is Luis Smolka versus Davy Grant. Smolka is 17-8, 30 years old, 5'9" with a 68.5-inch reach. And Grant is 11-6, 36 years old, 5'8" with a 69-inch reach. So this is going to be another fun fight to watch, but with my pick, I'm going to say Grant wins this one. So both guys are strikers, but I will say that Davy Grant is a little bit unorthodox, but I will give him the edge in striking. Grant likes to use his elbows and do a lot of spinning attacks, but he does hit like a truck and has a really good chin on him. Smolka does have power as well, but I just think Grant, once he lands a couple of those good clean strikes, he'll be able to knock down Smolka, and that's how I see this fight ending. So with my pick, I'm gonna say Davey Grant wins this one by knockout. Alright, co-main event time here. We have Ryan Spann versus Ion Cutelaba. Spann is 19-7, 30 years old, 6'5", with an 81.5 inch reach. And Cutelaba is 16-6-1, 28 years old, 6'1", with a 75 inch reach. So this is going to be a fun fight for however long it lasts, but I'm going to say Cutelaba gets the job done. So both guys are power strikers. I know Spann's going to be the bigger fighter and longer fighter, but the biggest difference for me in this fight is Cutelaba's going to have the huge wrestling advantage, and Spann's takedown defense is only 60%. And like I said, I know Cutelaba is going to be the smaller fighter here, but he's going to have an easier time taking down Spann. And another red flag for me is Spann seems like he's a little chinny now. Whenever he gets hit clean, he gets a little wobbled and he doesn't know where he's at. But the way I see this fight playing out is I do think they'll test the striking early on, and Cutelaba will probably mix in a couple takedowns here and there and probably end this fight either by ground and pound, or he might get the knockouts while they're striking on their feet. So with my pick, I'm going to say Cutelaba wins by knockout. Alright, main event time here. We have Jan Blachowicz versus Alexander Rakic. Blachowicz is 28-9, 39 years old, 6'2", with a 78 inch reach. And Rakic is 14-2, 30 years old, 6'4", with a 78 inch reach. So this is a great fight for the main event, and I'm sad that this didn't happen at UFC Columbus because I was at that event and I really wanted to see this fight. But nevertheless, I'm going to go with Rakic to win this one. So I know in some of Rakic's fights, they've kind of been snoozers, but this dude is a monster. He has vicious leg kicks, he has really good wrestling when he uses it, and he does have very good technical striking. And Blachowicz, he's a great striker as well. He does have good power, but I just think he's not as technical and quick. And if you go back to the last Blachowicz fight where he lost his belt, he just seemed like a different fighter. Like he was a little too timid. I don't know if that's because he was worrying about the takedowns, but like I said, Rakic does have good wrestling, and he can take down Jan in this fight. And I know Blachowicz is getting up there in age. He's at 39 years old, and maybe he's starting to slow down a bit. But the way I see this fight playing out is I do think the first round or two, they're going to test the striking, and it might be a little bit of a snooze fest. But I do see Rakic leaning on his wrestling as the fight goes on and scoring points that way. And he could potentially get a ground and pound knockout or maybe a submission. But with my pick, I'm going to say Rakic wins this one by a decision. Alright guys, so those are my picks and predictions for UFC Vegas 54. Thank you everybody for watching. And on your way out, please hit that like button. I hope everybody enjoys the fights this weekend. And until next time, happy fight night.